Hey everyone, welcome to Kibbe on Liberty. We're doing a series of special interviews this week from PorcFest in New Hampshire. This is a project of the Free State Project, and it's a gathering of libertarians and constitutional conservatives, Republicans. We even had some converted progressives here who are looking for liberty, and we're hanging out in this beautiful place, and these conversations are going to be awesome. Check it out.
That's why he did not want to come. My goodness.
I mean, husbands are somewhat unreliable.
Oh yeah, it's okay. He's gone. Maybe
Yeah,
he's gone.
yeah,
That's
he's gone.
good. Yeah, because he thinks he heard hundreds times. He's bored when I talk.
So we were supposed to do this last year
Right.
at PorcFest, and here we are a year later. It's good to see you, Lily.
Good to see you. I was wondering, how have you been? I didn't follow up with everybody, closely.
Yeah.
But I was worried about their well-being. I hope everybody's doing okay. They're surviving, and they're not depressed. Of course, not you. You got beer.
Yeah. We had a very busy year last year because I sort of became obsessed about the horrible things that governments were doing in terms of lockdowns. So in a strange way, Free the People had a super productive year because we did a lot of work on that above and beyond the stuff we normally do. So
Oh, good. So
It's
you were
the work-
working, busy working.
Yeah, the work kept us busy and focused.
That's good. That's good to hear that. Yeah.
How about you? The PorcFest met last year, Heroes.
Yeah, well, I was, of course, locked down, naturally social distancing in our new house in New Hampshire. We moved November of 2019 from Colorado. I'm so glad we did that because, we have 20 acres land, no neighbors. So naturally social distancing, right?
Right.
But every day I was working. I was working at the beginning, donating actually medical masks to our hospitals, helping a Chinese refugee who has a business, and he has connections. He loves America, and then he said, "Lily, my English is not good. Can you help me donate a mask? I want to save lives." So I have some connections in California. So now have some connections in New Hampshire. But I called so many hospitals and set up donations. Even little bit helped them. Every day I was busy. And then later he ran out of money to donate. He said, "Why can't you help me sell some?" And so we sold to hospitals in California. And when I tried to promote his story, and nobody wanted to interview him. You know why? Because he's anti-communism. He said, "I love America. I'm sorry this terrible COVID happened here, but the evil of CCP does not represent the regular Chinese people." And nobody wanted to interview him.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, now I understand. I got to look at their connections, who is the parent company, who owns those media, TVs and stuff. I guess when you are anti-communist, you are no longer popular for media in this country. Is that scary?
That was the creepiest thing about lockdowns for me, was that it became acceptable and even heroic to suggest, as many in mainstream media did, that the Communist Party of China had the right model by so aggressively locking people down. And the government was putting out all that phony data, how no one was getting sick and no one was dying, and everybody knew that it was a lie. But the mainstream media embraced this wildly authoritarian approach to things, both physically and in terms of what you were allowed to say. How the hell did that happen?
Well, I was, be honest, I couldn't sleep last year. I was very worried. It's like, what's going on in this, my second country? I came here when I was about almost 24 years old. My life opinion, my ideology, my indoctrination, all were pretty set in stone when you're up to that age. And it took me 20 years in this country to learn about free market, freedom, liberty, and all that good stuff. 20 years. So I'm in my middle age, in my 40s, I realized I woke up this country. It's not the same country I decided to flee to for freedom. And lots of Americans, I saw the word for freedom. I couldn't find them last year.
Yeah.
And I said, how could Americans just live in fear, let their government shut down them? How could they take the Chinese style hardcore authoritarian lockdown on Americans.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand. I think, okay, maybe the fear is temporary. Maybe we need to have more data. Then more data show up. And especially last year, when 1,000 public health officials come out to support the BLM, and I say, hey, how come the virus has a color, has a politics attached to it? I mean, like our public health officials, so-called bureaucrats, who actually are quite political. How could we trust them on COVID suggestions and guidelines? Everything is politicized. Of course, I always hold my reservations because I watch Chinese news and listen to Mandarin Chinese report about China weekly basis. So I see the similarities, I see the rhetorics, and I was just so worried why they don't hold China accountable. They even attack China. Wuhan virus name. I should feel offended when somebody call Wuhan virus. Chinese call Wuhan virus inside
Right.
China and outside China.
Yeah.
So I see something to do with election year, something to do with media, something to do with authoritarianism in this country for years and years. Our not just talk about children anymore. Our students, our youth, and our Americans don't understand. They're confused. They totally live in fear, and they trust government politicians. They trust the bureaucrats, unelected. Our masters just accept them. They are right. They are the science, and we should just give up our constitutional rights and stay home. Put your mask on. Go get a vaccine when they tell you to. Educate your kids at home on computer, and whatever. Obey. Don't ask questions. When I try to ask questions, I get fact checked by Facebook.
Yeah.
And I get warnings. It's just like, are we becoming like China? That's why lots of Chinese immigrants like me were scared. Lily, we're becoming like China. We're going to lose America. Americans are lost.
Yeah.
That's how we feel. Americans, or half them, or more than half are lost.
Well, that is precisely why you're sitting in that chair right now, because I would love to, for people that don't know your story, I know your story, and I think a lot of libertarians know your story because you've been banging this drum for a long time. But talk about growing up in China and what that was like, and then we're going to get into some of the similarities you see with what's happening in America today.
So I was born 2 years before Mao's Cultural Revolution. Illiterate, working class family, supposed to be workers' rule, the proletarian class, the red class, and the oppressed group. What did I get? Live in poverty. A family share one bathroom, one water faucet, no heating in the winter. I got a frostbite on my foot to prove it. And of course, no appliances, and even no light in the community housing bathroom. So I had no idea what is the world like outside. The Communist Party controlled everything. No private companies, no private ownership or any thought. And I would love to dream to have a radio to listen to music. No, could not even afford a radio. 6:30 in the morning during the Mao's Cultural Revolution, like a concentration camps, a big loudspeaker come on, 6:30. Time to wake up, time to go to work. Well, everybody got a guaranteed job. Like Bernie Sanders said, everybody guarantee a job under communism or socialism. Well, what kind of job is that? Do I have choice not to work or not to take this job, that job? No labor market. Everybody work for government. Then we're supposed to get a free health care, free education. No, we had to pay for everything. My parents, because they're illiterate working class, even though my dad was a Communist Party member, no, he was very low, bottom of the class. A little bit better than the 70% of population lives in countryside called the peasants. And they were promised the world, free land, nothing came. They were starving. So we were live on food rationing coupons, and we were live on community housing, like I told you, very primitive. But we're supposed to say, thank you, kumbaya, I'm grateful, long live Chiang Mai Mao. Long live Communist Party, 10,000 years, another 10,000 years. So I was totally indoctrinated child. I had no idea. I never challenged. Why would you say 10,000 years? Like you would think, is he human or is he God, right? No, I never asked questions. I did not know. Yeah, long live Chiang Mai. Okay, you do that until he died. I was 12. So, how did he die? Thinking. Had some brain left.
Yeah.
So, I will not say I woke up. I was just asking questions more now to myself to see my generation, my parents' generation, were so poor, were so grateful, and he died. Who lied to me?
Yeah.
So that's when I start to challenge. Okay, Mao's Cultural Revolution. That's another story. Mao become like a god. He told us we have a cultural revolution to get rid of 4 olds. Old culture, old habits, custom, and ideas. So he used that, and all the red guards, urban youth who could not go to school, to say we need to get rid of 4 olds. There are bad people in our society. Then he divided people like a typical Marxist do: oppressor group, oppressed group. But he put the 5 black classes under the oppressor group. Who are they? Landlords, rich peasants, and of course the bad influencers of society. That's very subjective, right? And the rightists, like who are they? So it's all party classify them 5 black classes under the oppressor group, and I was supposed to be red child, under oppressed. The workers, poor, revolutionary, murders, and of course PLA soldiers, and of course the Communist Party members, officials. So we're supposed to be the ruling class, but we're supposed to hate the black class. So we were taught so much hate, bad people, bad black classes. We should eliminate them. I was so brainwashed. Mao become like God, talk to me from the sky, and the bad black classes, we supposed to write a diaries to report on your neighbors, maybe even your family members. If you know your grandpa or your grandma used to be capitalist, own the land, you're supposed to tell the state. You're supposed to write in your diaries. And I learned that lesson at an early age. That because when I was 7 years old, I learned about collective society. I talked to my girlfriend. I'm the best student, 100% on every subject. I will be the first one joining Young Pioneer, Mao's grassroots organization for elementary school students. I never expected. She told my teacher on me. She is full of herself. She is too confident. She thinks she'll be the first one to wear the red scarf. So she reported on me. So after 7 years old, I kind of learned, I cannot trust anybody. I need to keep everything to myself. So in my diary, I learned, kumbaya, PC, everything's good. I only say good stuff.
Yeah.
But other people might say, dear Chiang Mai Mom, I'm sorry, I forgot something. I did not think about this thing in a political correct way. So basically, that kind of a system, hatred, division, turn everybody into Communist Party spies, report to police, report to your teachers. Well, it's like that's kind of society we're living. Now you know why when you go to China, you want to do business, you need the connections, you need the people you can trust, go drink, go build relationships. Because nobody can trust you if you don't go through this relationship building process. That's the system we grew up in. So that's why I sometimes talk about, today's division in the society, war culture, cancel culture, critical race theory. To me, it's similar tactics. Just divide people up. Let them fight each other. Let them hate each other. And lots of useful idiots being used by the bad actors who are truly regular people's enemies who want to divide you up and take your rights and freedom, and they're always in charge, be your master, be your like a trusted so-called leaders. I just say this so familiar. So when I woke up, go to college, finally I had a chance after Mao's Cultural Revolution ended, he died. I said, I was used. I was lied to. I need to go to university to study, search for truth. I wanted to study law so I can maybe have a true justice, a law, rule of law society. I was still naive. I did not realize one-party dictatorship rule is not going to change anything. Absolute power will corrupt, absolutely. And I went to college. I wanted to change China at the age of 17 in Shanghai. I was told, no, law is not for justice. The law is a tool for the party to use to govern the masses. You are just one of the masses, one of the numbers. You're not even individual with human rights. I was lost again. And I become rebellious teenager in college. I went to lots of crazy stuff. Whatever you teenager do in this country, maybe I did in China, except that we did not have access to some stuff. And so dancing, yes. Violate the laws to not go back to your dormitory on time because we had a curfew as college students. 10:30 at night, get back to your room. Lights come off in your room. It's like we're children. So when the dancing party started, Department of Education in the 80s, at the beginning, banned our dancing parties because we want to be like American, right? Dance. We even learn disco, move our body any way we want. It's a kind of freedom to shake your body, right? And we were told, you cannot be like capitalist lifestyle. Don't wear blue jeans. Don't have your hair down. Because during the Mao's Cultural Revolution, what you wear, how much you eat, what hairstyle you can wear, and who you get married to, and household registration, it's tracking you from birth until you die. That kind of system. You cannot just pack you back on a movie. No, you stay here. Papers, please. So when I went to Shanghai, I had this little freedom in the 80s. It was a great time in college to express yourself. Yeah. And that's when I start to really challenge, ask questions. Up to that point in my life, I think that was best time.
That whole process of dehumanization and eliminating the four olds, like even I see the analogy with what's happening on today, the way that we want to erase history and institutions, good, bad, and otherwise. But the part that's more sort of ominous to me is when you compare the divisions of the Cultural Revolution, us versus them, red versus black, good guys versus bad guys, with sort of critical race theory and intersectionality, and the way that they really want us all to view our fellow Americans as the enemy. And all it does is shift power to the state, and that was the purpose of it in China, right?
Right. I can recognize that, but lots of people in this country, it's like they're confused, or they feel passionate about their own side. I mean, they all feel passionate about identity politics, according to your race, your color, your economic status, or whatever. But I recognize that exactly that's what they did. Mao did to us. 20 million people died during the Cultural Revolution. And also, law enforcement was told to stand down, because when you go through this public big square struggle sessions where red crosses, red guards hold their face up like this to make you publicly shamed, make you to denounce yourself, denounce your ancestors, your families, and they don't want anybody gets in their way. So if you go to struggle sessions as black class and red guards do not think you did a good job to self-criticize and denounce your ancestors, your families, and to draw the lines, they're going to throw rocks at you. They're going to torture you. And nobody's there to save you. Some children cannot handle that pressure because their families are black classes. And the only way they can preserve themselves is to say, I'm going to change my last name from Wang to Tang. or Tang to Zhang. So I would say to the country and to the Red Guards, to the party, I changed my name. I denounce my families. I draw the line. They're no longer my families. How sad is that? They're like 16, 15 years old.
Yeah.
And their family just watching them with tears. And sometimes you see your family getting tortured from your eyes. Someone died. Think about they live with their guilt all their lives. And those stories need to come out. But we still, are fighting communism, and Chinese people still not free. We even don't have a cultural revolution, a good movie or good museum to talk about those victims.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our friend Lee Schooland has been on the show, and you mentioned something that I want to drill down on a little bit. She was a black family, and you were a red family. Your dad was in good standing, and so you had it better, right?
Well, actually, if my grandfather, was living that time, he was a landowner, and he died of mysterious disease. And in order to treat his disease, he sold all his land. And also, my grandma went through struggle sessions. She married to also from my mother's side, a rich guy as a second wife. I could be easily a black child, a black family, went through what she went through. But because all that happened in the past and people died and both my real grandfathers died, I never met them. So I was a red child because they were dirty poor. My dad grew up as an orphan.
Yeah.
But they say so. I had friends who were black family, children, students. I feel for them. I listened to Lee Schooland's story. It's just so sad. I feel like, geez, like how many people were like me, red children, hate them, and supposed to hate them, and then later
you're required to hate them.
Otherwise, how do you become politically correct? And I wanted to wear the red scarf. I wanted to become party like the Red Guard member because that's what red children, students supposed to join them.
Yeah.
So you get a pat on the back, good student, good child, and turn my mouth, party, all love you, and you are the so-called revolutionary and 3 merit students. I went through all that process, and I did not know that it was all lies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not know, except I also learned how to protect myself. Seal my lips.
Yeah.
Just go out, do whatever I supposed to do.
Say what you're supposed to say.
Yeah.
So Lee tells this story. I don't know if she's ever told it publicly. I think so. We did some pretty long interviews about her childhood, but one of the stories, and as I recall, both of her parents were academics, and that's why they ended up in the black class, because academics were an enemy of the people.
Because they're rightists.
Yeah.
How do you define rightists or bad influencers? It could be intellectuals who were dissidents, who just disagree, but the Mao threw them under the bus. Even Mao promised them, we're going to give you academic freedom.
Yeah.
No, he threw them under the bus.
The creepy thing, there's lots of creepy things about her story, but one of the things that she talks about is a horrible experience where her mom was beaten by her neighbors. And that's what, going back to this whole dividing us and separating us and categorizing us, and I see that dynamic in critical race theory. I see it in intersectionality, but I also see it, we're now talking, and it looks like we've been able to push back on this, vaccination passports, and whether or not you're wearing a mask. It's become a political question as opposed to a health question, and you have strangers judging you, asking you, getting up in your face if you haven't complied with the one path forward defined by the government. I don't think I'm being hysterical in suggesting there's an analogy here to how bad it could get based on your experience.
Well, it's very scary for me to think about. We don't have choices anymore as individuals, and we don't have privacy. We don't have even health freedom when we are conditioned by the politicians, bureaucrats, and the media to condemn people, shame people just because they have different opinions. or they choose different than what you do, and then neighbors, the community people will turn on each other, and they can call police come to arrest you. They can go to your home, harass you. They can shut you down your church. That's why I decided that I even want to come out louder to tell my stories. Lots of people need to know. Don't you know what you're doing to your fellow citizens? It's exactly what the communists want you to do and Marxists want you to do. When BLM come out, the founders, I'm not talking about peaceful protesters, I'm talking about the founders come out, we are trained Marxists. It's like, who trained them? Who found them? How long they have been prepared for this to have a cultural revolution on American soil, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I have been warning people about America is go down wrong path for a long time. But the last year was really at the height of this. And I also know what the Chinese government, the CCP, wants to achieve in America. I have been following up what they're doing. So I feel just this country is really in crisis. And the people still don't feel urgently about that. So I'm the co-chair of New Hampshire Aging American Coalition with a Vietnamese refugee who came to this country and lived in New Hampshire for 27 years. She said, Lily, it's up to us now. Americans are lost, lots of them, and they're afraid to be called racist. You and I have to come out.
Yeah.
So we started a rally, we write press release, we also advocate for non-discrimination against the aging children. You know, I think we aging Americans, for some reason, I think we are kind of inconvenient minority. They don't know what to do with us. Same time, they want to say anti-aging hate, Wuhan virus is racist name, or whatever. So it's like, oh, they should be on our side. Then next day, they will drop the lawsuit by DOJ against Yale, who discriminate against our children, who work their butt off to go to best university. And they are the high achievers above the white students. But they cannot get in because your skin color is yellow, because you have yellow skin. It's like, can you please address our concern if you really care about us? But you really don't, because you want us to play oppressed victims. Always victims are easy to manipulate and rely on government to protect you. But if we want to be high achievers, go to Harvard, go to Yale. No, wait for your quotas, because you are too excellent. We're going to put you under the bottom of the list. We'll let other people who are oppressed. So which group should I belong to? I don't have a box I can belong to, right? Oppressor or oppressed? As I said, we have biracial children, 3 of them. My husband's 100% white. I'm 100% Chinese. How am I going to go home to say, oh my God, you're racist, Dad? Or my children think that Dad is white supremacist, but I'm Chinese, so I'm supposed to be oppressed. But my husband actually is always saying to people, oh, no. I'm the one who is oppressed in the home by very tough lady from China.
Look, I'm married. I understand oppression.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess
I don't
you know
if Terry's
same thing.
around.
I know. Oh, she's saying, hey.
Uh-oh. I'm going to pay
what
for
I'm
that
saying
later.
Is, can we just promote love? You would think by international marriage, right? Biracial marriage, it's great. That means we understand each other, we learn from each other, and we're still learning about each other. He thinks I'm fascinating and, because I'm not predictable, which is good. And we learn about each other's culture, history, ancestry, and the personality, and it's great.
Right.
But there's lots of interracial marriages, and that's why I want the people. I want 99% Americans to be united, not divided. That's how you lose a country and lose our freedom too, to the Marxists who want to divide us.
And that's why we're here today, right? And that's why you are here. And I want to get into your journey from Colorado to New Hampshire and your evolution to libertarianism, because I feel like even though this feels like the worst possible time to believe in liberty, because we're getting squeezed on both sides, nationalism on the right and this authoritarian progressivism on the left, and and the fear that has been exploited by governments to do all of these insane things to us over the last year, you touched on something that is our secret sauce. We actually have this idea that through voluntary cooperation, people that are different in a million different ways can get along and thrive and love each other. That's the libertarian story. And you decided, I don't know what it was, and you'll correct me, but 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, you decided that you and your husband were going to move from Colorado to New Hampshire. Why did you do that?
Well, of course, I run for U.S. Senate as Libertarian candidate in Colorado, and I think I worked very hard, even totally deserted my self-employed business because I was busy doing campaign, and
I was at one of your rallies,
right,
somewhere in Colorado,
and I got a 3.6%, and that was best, breaking history in Colorado. I even got into debate with 2 major party candidates. And I just wanted to promote liberty, tell my stories. And they ignore me because I'm not relevant, because I'm a third-party candidate. That just really wake me up. They will not let me to get into debate again because when I debate them, I got the loudest cheers from the audience. And they were not even our Libertarian Party members. People love liberty and like somebody who's not politician, who can talk to them straight to their face, to their eyes, to make the connection. Because I'm just Chinese immigrant, fled communist country, for American dream, for freedom in this country. I don't want to talk about politician. So after I won 3.6%, I was looking for where I can be more effective as somebody who is a political activist. And I saw Colorado trend is not very good. Now it's totally blue. And so I look into New Hampshire. I just love. I did not know they have a motto: "Live free or die." And I studied the history a little bit. It's like and this is a cool state, and the most friendly Second Amendment rights, and the low income tax in the state, low sales tax, and the representatives, 400 of them represent the people, low pay. Oh, they get paid $100 a year. And that's all that stuff. And the man came here first trip, 4 days, pick up state constitution in the state capitol, talk to liberty people. I was sold, like 2016, and prepared 2 or 3 years to come to this state to basically to say, if I cannot even keep the freedom rights in the free state, in New Hampshire, we cannot be the model or example for the other states. I don't know where else we're gonna go to do this. Of course, there's Texas, there's Florida, but I love New Hampshire. I think it's beautiful here. We got a tall, big trees, and I like 4 seasons. I like the mountains. Then we have rivers and lakes. Oh, I should maybe get hired by New Hampshire tourism department, right? It's like I just loved it.
Yeah.
So I come here to be effective and to live really the spirit of live free or die. So finally we moved November of 2019, right before the shutdown.
That was great timing. And for those of you listening to this as a podcast, we are under a tent and it started to rain, so don't blame the bad sound on Logan, our sound engineer. You can edit this out in post, right? Yeah. He promises.
Yeah, we can adjust to the
but
picture
it does,
or sound, right?
It does rain in New Hampshire, it turns out. Well,
that's why everything is so green, right? This is not desert. Like Colorado is dry weather. And I'm from Chengdu, Sichuan province, and also not desert and not very high altitude. So I told my husband, I think I like here. I think I feel more like a home here.
So you told me something before we got started that I'm going to out you on. You switched from Big L Libertarian Party, and you are now a Republican. Whoa. So I'm joking, of course. I would love for you to talk about what's going on with the Free State Project and the efforts by libertarians to get Republicans to actually represent the values that they talk about so much but maybe not.
So here's a little background. When I first became a U.S. citizen, I was independent for a while because I said, well, I'm going to have a well-informed decision about which party I'm going to join. I have lots of Democrat friends. I also have lots of Republican friends, and include John's, family members. But I wanted to study on my own because after I went through Mao indoctrination, I truly appreciate to be an independent thinker. And nobody can ever force anything on me. So I did the research. I studied the platform. Oh, Republican Party platform, small limited government, really sold to me. My English wasn't even good enough, but I understand that part. I understand, constitutional rights, and of course, Ron Paul really made a big impression on me. And so I joined the Republican first as a citizen. And I did my internship in state capitol in Colorado, and with a budget committee chair who was a Republican. And I learned grassroots activities, and I become HOA board member, charter school board member, and exercise power as a parental right. And I did all that in order to learn about my new country. How do I get involved as a new citizen? And but then 2008, I realized under Bush, when they bailed out the banks, they abandoned the small limited government. No child left behind, expansion of the Medicare, and the Patriot Act, and all the violation of privacy. It just woke me up to say, what's going on with this party? I don't like it anymore. And my husband told me, do you know in the United States we have lots of parties? I said, like what? Then he told me about Libertarian Party and the Green Party and all the other parties. And so I checked into Libertarian Party platform. Platform is great. I'll say, okay, I'll get involved. I go to their party meetings instead of Republicans. And that was 2008, first time I really woke up to see, what kind of direction we're going to. So, and lots of liberty-loving people there. And I become a chair one time, 2015. I ran State House, U.S. Senate. I ran twice. But as I said, the problem is that in Colorado, you can run anything you want because you can get on the ballot. In New Hampshire, you cannot. And also, I found out that as small parties, they keep you out of debate. So I just want to be effective for liberty. My North Star, is freedom in this country. That you have to be effective. How am I going to let people listen to my stories if nobody is even including me in the debate or my name is on the ballot? So, of course, party has issues too. Lots of people spend time, instead of advance liberty, they're fighting each other or attacking each other. You're already small tent, you're fighting each other. I don't get it. I don't get involved with that.
Libertarians fight with each other? Does that happen, guys?
Yeah.
No, that never happens.
Is that too much individualism or what? But fundamentally, we need to respect each other.
Yeah.
Let's say you and I disagree. I pick up phone to say, hey, Matt, what's going on? Can you explain this to me? I don't understand. And solve that privately and focus on outside and advance liberty. That's why I put, Dave Smith on the spot to say, hey, people even don't understand. Either horrors of communism, socialism. Our young people also don't know about libertarianism. Have we been effective at all to win people over from the public? That's why I'm worried to death we're losing America as our country. And everybody just kind of agree with me. They give me a loud, hands and stuff. But that's truly my concern. I want to advance liberty. I don't want to relive in China. I don't want to relive a totalitarian society. So I decided I'm going to be here effective and grassroots organizing, get my message, stories out, inspire people. Politics is local. If you cannot even get the school members listen to you and get the police come to arrest you like Virginia County, how are you going to do anything? You are taxpayers, and you elect these people who pretend that they are your tyrants. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So politics local. So I decided I'm going to be involved with the Republican Party. I like lots of Republican members in this state because there are lots of them are like us. They want small limited government. So we just have to get those people more involved in politics, get them elected, so that way that we're not going to, spend lots of time just to, watch the radical left to run us over.
And you're a Republican Party official? What is your role?
And I come here volunteer to reboot the WARE committee last year because it was election year. I want to get our representatives elected. And the last January, we had the election, and I got elected again as chair of the committee. And then we have team now, 4 people instead of just the 2 people I was appointed. I put another vice chair, my actual best friend in my town. And so now we have an official committee and team. We have monthly meeting. I'm a state delegate. I'm a county delegate. I'm also I'm elected the supervisor of the checklist in my town last March. So I'm doing my duty as a public servant. And I also run the New Hampshire Asian American Coalition. So one person in 18 months, I wish I could do more. And I'm trying to do all the interviews, all the speakings, and educate people. And I always ask people, please don't demonize our American citizens. You can demonize, know who your real enemies are, but we need to reach out to public. I don't want to, every time when I come to PorcFest, we'll talk about the same thing, and another year goes by, nothing gets done. That was not effective if you have nothing gets done. But New Hampshire, we're making progress.
Yeah, so you're optimistic about the Free State Project and your decision to move to New
Hampshire.
Yes,
lots of good people here, activists, almost full-time, and lots of them are, involved with the local politics. And I just wish more people. We have about 4,000 or 5,000 people here, and everybody is doing their part in different fields. You can do education, you can do the private charity, you can do radio show, you can do self-employed business, do whatever you can. But if you don't do anything, then don't complain to me about what become a totalitarian state. Don't complain, because we are citizens. Who is tie your hands down? I can't understand Chinese cannot do it because they're afraid, because they're being brainwashed every day. They don't even have access to real internet, Like my talk is banned, right? They cannot see YouTube and my Facebook and everything. But we are here. We have each other. What is the excuse that you're not doing anything and you spend time attacking each other instead of go out, win people over to promote freedom and personal privacy, our human freedom? No excuse. If you want to attack me because I turn Republican, I just totally ignore you. I don't have time for that. I'm focused on bigger cause. So that's why I always I never engage on Facebook attacks, because it's not relevant to me. I have a bigger cause to fight for.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Good hanging out.
Yeah, good hanging out.
I wish you had some passion and energy. I think it would work.
Oh, are you out passionate by me? I know my husband said that.
Give it up for Lily.
Yes, thank you. Well, I hope my English is not too sloppy, because my husband said, when you get too passionate, your English words just suck. People don't understand what you're saying, so I have to slow down my tongue, But I'm too fiery sometimes, he said. But he's from Texas. Yeah, he understands. Yeah, he's from Texas. Yeah, and we're done, man.
Yes, thank you.
Oh.
Thank you. But we're keeping that part. That's awesome.
Tell people to find me. My page is Lily for Liberty. Lily.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to ask you that. Like, we're still rolling, right?
Yeah.
So how do we find Lily Tang Williams? And do you bottle this energies? Because a lot of us would need some of that.
Well, I have a page. I started actually 2014. And so I was committed to long-term cause. It's called Lily for Liberty, Lily 4 Liberty. Now I have almost 20,000 followers. So I have lots of followers even from other countries, including, I'm hoping that from communist socialist countries. They always tell me, Lily, tell Americans what it is. That we cannot lose America, because they still think America is the shining city on the hill for freedom, because there's not so, even people in Canada, they're not so hopeful there, or EU. And my Twitter is also same thing, Lily for Liberty. I'm on Instagram, MeWe, YouTube, Lily Tang Williams. has lots of YouTube videos there. I need more subscribers. Right now I'm about 4,000, but Twitter's 6,000. Please go there. You have my permission, everybody. Use my messages, my posts, my videos to send to everybody, especially you school board members who want to teach CRT, and teachers who don't understand this is a mass cultural revolution. The Marxists, they don't care about your race, okay? They don't care about your skin color or you are poor or not. They make everything sounds good. But you all will be thrown under the bus if you buy into that. Because once the communists take over, guess what? Doesn't matter if you support them at the beginning or not, just like what happened under Mao. They threw you on the bus. They can kill you. They can knock you up. Look how many people today lock up in China, and people don't talk about it. Human rights lawyers, 30 of them disappeared, and they're locked up. They cannot defend their clients because themselves is locked up. And the people don't understand communist China's true colors. So my another job is constantly tell them what's also happening in China, what is the similarities with their tactics, our government tactics. Why are all the tyrants learning from Communist Party tactics? That tells you why. They all want the power and control over regular people. We don't have a special interest. We don't have people represent us in Washington. So we have to rely on ourselves. No God, no Trump, nobody can save us. We have to save ourselves.
Let's leave it there. That is awesome. Give it up one more time.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
That was amazing. Where can I get more content just like that? It's a great question. You're clearly a discerning consumer of the best content. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, and click the bell. And if you're consuming podcasts, go to Apple, Stitcher, anywhere you get them. I'm in. Kibbe on Liberty, honest conversations with interesting people.